They didn't yell. They didn't hit. They didn't do anything you could easily explain to someone else. But somehow, after months or years with them, you ended up smaller, more confused, and less sure of yourself than you've ever been. That's not an accident. That's a playbook. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it works. Hi, I'm Hana, and welcome to Mind Bloom, where we break down the psychology behind the things that are hardest to put into words. Today, we're talking about narcissistic abuse. Not the dramatic, obvious kind that's easy to spot from a distance. The quiet kind. The kind that happens in small, incremental steps over a long period of time with someone you trusted completely. The kind that leaves you standing at the end of it, wondering how you got there and blaming yourself for the answer. I want to walk you through the exact stages of how this works, because one of the most powerful things you can do, whether you're still in it, just leaving it, or trying to make sense of something that happened years ago, is to understand the mechanism, to see the pattern clearly, to be able to say, this was not random. This was not my fault. This followed a
Stage
very
2
specific
is
sequence.
devaluation.
And
This is where the confusion really begins. Because it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in increments so small that each one on its own seems almost explainable. The warmth doesn't disappear overnight. It becomes inconsistent. There are still good days, days where they're the person you fell in love with, warm and engaged and present. But now there are also other days, days where something is slightly off, where a comment lands differently than it should have, where you feel, for a reason you can't quite name, like you've done something wrong. Here's a real example of what this looks like. Imagine you're telling them about something that excited you, a success at work, something you're proud of. And instead of responding the way they used to, they say something small. Maybe it's a slight eye roll. Maybe it's, "That's nice," in a tone that communicates the opposite. Maybe they shift the conversation to themselves almost immediately. It's subtle enough that you can't quite call it out, but you feel it, and you start to wonder if you imagined it. That wondering, that self-questioning, is exactly what devaluation is designed to produce. Because the goal of this stage is not to make you angry. Anger would make you leave. The goal is to make you uncertain. Uncertain about your own perceptions. Uncertain about whether what you're experiencing is real. Uncertain about whether the problem is them or you. And so the devaluation often comes with subtle criticism. Not, "You're terrible," more like, "You're so sensitive," or "You always do this," or "I was just joking. Why do you take everything so seriously?" These comments are carefully calibrated to feel almost reasonable while simultaneously chipping away at your confidence in your own reality. Here's the other thing that happens during devaluation that's crucial to understand. The good moments don't stop. In fact, they sometimes intensify right after a particularly bad one, and this is not accidental. The pattern of devaluing and then coming back with warmth.
Stage 4 is the stage that most people, when they hear it named, recognize immediately, even if they've never had the word for it before. It's called gaslighting, and it is, at its core, a systematic attack on your ability to trust your own mind. Here's what it looks like in practice. You remember a conversation clearly. You remember what was said, how it was said, the tone, the context. You bring it up, and they tell you it didn't happen that way, or that you're misremembering, or that you're being dramatic, or too sensitive, or that you always do this, take small things and blow them completely out of proportion. At first, you push back. You know what you remember, but they're so certain, so unbothered by your certainty, so completely confident in their version of events that a small seed of doubt gets planted. And over time, over many repetitions of this dynamic, that seed grows. You start to trust your own memory less. You start to defer to their version of reality more.
You start to apologize for bringing things up, because every time you do, the conversation ends with you somehow being the problem. Here's a specific example. You tell them a certain comment they made hurt you. They respond not by engaging with what you felt, but by listing everything they've done for you recently, as if the balance sheet of kindness somehow cancels out your pain. You walk away from the conversation feeling guilty for having felt hurt in the first place. That guilt, that's gaslighting working exactly as intended. The cumulative effect of gaslighting over months or years is a kind of internal erosion that's very hard to describe to someone who hasn't experienced it. You stop trusting your perceptions. You stop trusting your feelings. You start to genuinely believe that the problem is some fundamental flaw in the way you process reality, that you're too sensitive, too needy, too dramatic. And because you now believe this about yourself, the idea of leaving becomes almost impossible. Because where would you go if the problem is you? And then comes stage 5, the stage that often comes last, but sometimes cycles back in throughout, which is called discard and hoover. The discard is when the relationship ends, either all at once or through a slow, cold withdrawal that makes you feel like you're disappearing from their life in real time. What's psychologically devastating about the discard is that it often comes without explanation, or with an explanation so inadequate that it creates more questions than it answers. Because if you don't know what happened, if you can't identify the thing you did wrong, your mind will keep searching for it, indefinitely. And that searching is exactly what makes the hoover so effective.
So where does this leave you? If you've recognized your own story anywhere in what I've just described, whether you're in it right now or whether you left it years ago and have been trying to understand it ever since, I want to speak to something that I think is the most important thing in this entire video. The reason this worked on you was not that you were weak. It was not that you were naive or broken or that you have bad judgment. It was that you had things inside you, real, healthy, human things that were specifically targeted. Your capacity for love was targeted. Your ability to extend trust was targeted. Your desire to be truly known by another person was targeted. These are not character flaws. These are, in a healthy relationship, exactly the things that make intimacy possible. The playbook works on people who are capable of deep connection, because deep connection requires